course, you knew that. If you didn't know that, you are really going to be surprised by today's program.
There's been so many things that held us down.
So many things that held us down, folks.
But now it seems like things are finally coming around.
We have to use that mental bridge to step into the future that we want to have. Of course, that means we have to acknowledge the position that we're in right now. So where we are is this. A new year, some of the same problems of the past, but hopefully some anticipating with a little bit more enthusiasm, realizing that we sit on the power, realizing that we are with God if we choose to be. God doesn't move. We don't have to worry so much about him joining us as us joining him, getting under that umbrella of faith that allows us to see around corners and understand that everything that we need to understand doesn't come to us at a level where we're always comfortable. That means faith has to take place. So, as I look forward to tomorrow, I am not anticipating a big check for my share of Venezuelan oil, and I hope you're not either. But there are those out there who have Venezuela's oil on their mind. And they have suggested that there were other reasons for going to Venezuela to take down the president, Maduro, the person who was occupying the seat as president. Certainly wasn't the elected president. And I want nothing that I say today to be interpreted as an endorsement of Mr. Maduro as president or as a good leader. I am concerned always about process and procedure and understanding that I have spent time going through my election plate, deciding who to vote for. I voted for Mr. Pete Aguilar to be my congressman. I'm not overly excited about the lack of movement toward impeaching a man who has been president for less than a year and has done more to harm me, my legacy, the legacy of my ancestors, the imagery of black people in particular, and the things that we have fought for. And I say that because I do believe that black folks are the moral compass of America. I say that because we are the first aspect of America's development that demonstrated that though the compass pointed north, we were going south. We have embellished the concept of slavery, racism, and carried it through, despite many laws and movements that say that's over, we shouldn't do it. We've come around to the point of where the truth about racism has made some white people ashamed to the point of they want to erase the history. I am unfortunately tied into that enough to say that some of the movements that we see taking place by our president really, regardless of what he says, reflect a racist tone. Now, that's my take, and as we go further today and have Mr. Mac Romeo join us and Myshjua join us, we'll get their take and see exactly how they feel about the occurrences of the last several days in regard to the United States, and that's us, of you and I taking over Venezuela's oil, assuming that we are going to run that country. I'm a people person. I don't see that we are necessarily concerned about the welfare of the people, though we say that we had a drug problem with Venezuela. So, welcome to 2026. Welcome to Empire Talks Back. And I am going to proceed with today's program and introduce Mr. Mac Romeo. Mac, how you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing good. How's everybody in Southern California doing today? We love to have you guys join us in this program. We love you. Good to hear. Oh, man. Are we talking about Venezuela?
We are talking about Venezuela. You know, I've
Okay, so let me just do this. At the beginning of the program, I am a United States Navy veteran. I'm also a war veteran. I was in the Desert Storm, the invasion of Iraq. And so I know just a little bit of what I'm talking about when it comes to Navy and war.
Yeah.
And so what Venezuela, we have now, first off, let me just say it like this, Mr. Allen. That was a spectacular victory.
Oh, that was an amazing precision demonstration of the precision our military is capable of conducting. I have to, without a doubt, say that if that military is operating on my behalf, I feel very, very secure.
I mean, we have to look at what Russia has been doing in Ukraine for the last 2 years. They really lost a lot of blood, lives, and people trying to take over Ukraine. What America seems to have done is avoid all that bloodshed. Now, let me just say this: if you've ever been privileged for somebody to buy you a car when you were like maybe 16 years old, we're just going to use that as an example for Venezuela. So your parents buy you a car, right? And you're so happy you have this car. And this is how Mr. Trump and America is about Venezuela right now. We got this. We have this. We've won this victory very quickly, way faster than Russia tried to take over Ukraine or whatever. But guess what? When somebody buys you a car on your sweet 16th birthday, do you know what happens after they buy you that car?
Yeah, you have to.
Well,
go ahead.
You have to make insurance payments.
You have to buy gas.
You have to make maintenance payments. You have to take care of that car. And I believe that's what's about to happen in Venezuela. It's not the victory. It's, okay, now we have you. We have you. Now we have to pay the price. We have to pay the insurance. We have to pay the maintenance. We have to run your country now. So is it a victory?
Well, the one thing about your car, it simply it indicates its needs. You know, the little red lights will come on and say you need to do this. The blue light will come on and say you need to do that. With Venezuela, we have taken out who we say is the bad man, and understanding that there will be someone to take his place, and will that person continue doing what he did, or will they do something different? Will they be a regime change or just a change in leadership to where they keep doing what they're doing?
Well, in regards to Venezuela, they already have a lady who is set up to take over the country if America does what they want to do. Mm-hmm. This lady won, I can't remember her name right now, so please forgive me, but she did just win the Nobel Peace Prize this year.
The one who won the election. The lady who won the election. Is that who we're talking about? The lady who won the election, or the lady who, Ms. Rodriguez, that is going?
Yeah, she didn't win the election in Venezuela. I'm not sure what election you're talking about. She did just win a Nobel Peace Prize because she is the opposition. She is opposite of Maduro. And what I'm saying is, now that Maduro is actually in American custody, I'm pretty sure they're going to put this lady in power.
Well, we'll get to see. The thing that we have definitely seen or heard from our president is that boots on the ground doesn't scare him, and primarily the boots on the ground that he's concerned about would be boots on the ground that protect the oil and protect his ability to extract the oil, control the oil. Now, controlling the people and paying back the people, that becomes a little harder. That's kind of like reparations. Who's really qualified to get them?
Let's talk very intentionally about this subject. What President Trump has said is that I'm going to Venezuela to take their oil. So what he's also saying there is we're going to rob these people of their own resources from their country, because we feel, we had Chevron and Shell going there. We had some American oil companies going to Venezuela, and you guys kicked us out. And we feel a certain way. So we feel that we can come in and just take over your entire country.
Well, we say the entire country, but in effect, we are saying also that the only thing that we are really dedicated to putting boots on the ground and protecting is the oil. So if the people are upset about it, and don't forget, Venezuela is about 1.5 times the size of Texas. We have people carrying guns in Venezuela that represent a lot of different factions. Taking over Venezuela and taking care of the people of Venezuela, for me as a person who feels that moral compassing is part of my job, I'm very cautious about saying that there's any type of victory. Maduro as a person to be captive, I think that we will see over a period of time that despite his bad actions, the process and procedure, once again, will be a point of concern for all of us. And based on that, we're going to have many arguments about this, not just Democrat, Republican, but I think, I know for me, I'm very concerned about the process. I'm concerned about the fact I elected a congressperson who is to represent me and my concerns, and he knows nothing about this. He knows a lot about a lot of other things, and he is still standing on a rock that says, I don't know if I want to impeach this guy. My concern is that this step is another step to confuse and create chaos that allows our president to move further into the pocket of power that will allow him to stay in power and stay out of jail, which I think is his whole intent based on his inauguration earlier the past year. So I'm kind of stuck on that bad action and everything that has resulted from that as being a cover-up of that. So I've not moved beyond the fact that he came in wrong, and he's done nothing but wrong since then. The people that he promised that he would do things for, his base, I'm not part of that base, but I can identify with them in that he has not done for them what he said he would do. So as he tells me today what he plans to do with Venezuela, I anticipate that there's that same 90% of lie that he is standing on as his truth, and that the 10% of truth that we will see will be incidental and unimportant, and that we've probably seen it now, and that's the capturing of Maduro. So,
well, let me ask you this. They used to call America the world's policeman.
Well,
and
okay.
Donald Trump ran, and he said that we're not going to be the world's policeman anymore. But this guy is now the world's pirate. We're stealing stuff. We're taking oil tankers. We are lawless ourselves.
Are you suggesting that he is, or are you agreeing that what he says he's going to do is not necessarily what he's going to do? Does he qualify as a liar or simply a person who makes mistakes about the future? What do you think?
I believe Donald Trump is a face man. He represents other powers that are behind him that keep him in power. So, I mean, like, if you would like to choose to believe the words that comes out of his mouth, I have to question your intelligence.
So we go back to what you initially said. We saw a precision demonstration, demonstration of the precision our military is capable of. And at the same time, we saw the misdirection that our president is willing to take us through to accomplish his means, pretending to do the thing that we would like to see done.
Right, but I don't want us to. I made that analogy about a car,
yeah,
in your sweet 16 birthday. It's the maintenance. Do you understand? There are people in Venezuela who follow Chavez. They follow Maduro. Listen, they don't want to give their oil and their resources to us for nothing. Those people will become the maintenance. Those people will become our problem since we've toppled their president and we're taking over their country. We're probably going to install this lady to be the new president of Venezuela. But guess what? There's a lot of people there who don't want their natural resources to go be profit for American companies. They would like to live a nice lifestyle. They want to live which they can afford because they have oil. These people have oil. They're selling it to China. They're selling it to Russia.
You know,
what we're doing right now is the most gangsterist move I've ever seen.
Well, yeah.
We just going to take the oil.
Well,
but guess
we've
what?
got oil.
Yeah, there's going to be maintenance.
Yeah,
there's going to be problems.
Let's let Myshjua come in. We've got oil in America that is not being the benefits of which are not spread around to the United States people or the public. Why all of a sudden we would expect that America or Trump would be fair with the distribution of funds from the oil that he steals from Venezuela? And matter of fact, if he did do it, he would fall into the realm of a socialist or a communist, which we know he's not going to do. But Myshjua, good morning and Happy New Year to you.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Obviously our first piece of conversation here is about the president taking over Venezuela in our name with our military and intending out of his mouth to take the oil and protect the oil. And I haven't heard him say anything about protecting the people. I haven't heard any plan, as Mac has indicated, about what the future will be in terms of the politic and how it's ruling the people. Your take on this whole thing, Missy, please.
Well, first of all, we have a very large Venezuelan contingent here in South Florida who began to migrate here when Chavez took office. So they are very invested. They are very active in the community. And when this election took place last year, when Maria Corina Machado was elected, Venezuelans here voted. They were very active in that vote. And basically Maduro said, well, I don't care if she won, I'm not leaving.
And she won with a big landslide.
She won with a very large she won with a very large majority. Now, let's be clear. Venezuela is not my country. It is not our country. So what these people truly want, what the motivation is of either political party, is not necessarily something that any of us are well versed in. And in a lot of ways, nor is it our business. The one thing we do know, though, is that Machado won. And then after that, she won the Nobel Peace Prize that our current president felt he deserved. So when he spoke yesterday and said, I don't think that she's qualified, I don't think that the people there like her, so I don't think she'll make a good successor, understand that she's now living rent-free in his head, similar to another popular president that we all know and love. So whatever he says about her, what he's going to do, his motivations are consistent. He has a group of business friends that he's already said, my friends are going to come in and they're going to run the oil business and they're going to make a lot of money. He said it out of his mouth yesterday. He said the quiet part very loud. And then he also said, this woman who got 70% of the vote, I'm not putting her in charge. Now, whether or not he has the authority to put anyone in charge in someone else's country is going to remain to be seen. France, I believe that there have now been about 11 countries who have come forward to say that rightfully if there's going to be a transition of power, it belongs to Ms. Machado, who is their president-elect. But on top of that, yesterday, he also said that Marco Rubio has been speaking with the vice president in Venezuela and that she's ready to do whatever he asked. An hour after that, she came on with her cabinet there in the room with her and said, we are not getting ready to be anybody's colony. You cannot have our natural resources. You kidnapped our president and you better send him back. So
there
he's saying a lot of things right now.
Right.
Congress is saying, who told you that you could do this without talking to us? We want to talk to you. The United Nations is saying, oh, hell no, this is not how this works. We have to have a meeting. So he's not the only one talking. And even though he likes to walk around and basically declare and dictate what he wants, it's one thing for him to do it in this country. It's one thing for him to do it on open international waters. If any of us think that China and Russia are going to sit back and just let this happen, if any of us think that the guerrillas in Venezuela are going to just sit back and let this happen, all of us need to just sit for a minute.
The guerrillas.
That's what I was talking about with the maintenance.
That's right.
And the insurance payments. Like after you get the car, you still got a lot of work to go. And I think we have a lot of work to go with Venezuela. I'm not. I agree with Myshjua. I think we're behaving lawlessly. We are pirates. We are behaving lawlessly.
And without a doubt, our representatives, our Congress, Republican and Democrat, have not done their job to exert the power that we have trusted them with to direct and maintain their position of checks and balances to control what our president is able to do. And the audacity of the man is unquestionable. The fact that this is part of a series of illegal activities, and his audacity about being legal or illegal seems to be based on the fact that he is the commander-in-chief of the most powerful, precision-capable military on the planet. And the fact that he is sick, demented, without good judgment, and at the same time one who has the audacity of Superman, it puts us in the people of the United States, the people of Venezuela, and the people of the planet in a very precarious position. I stand on the rock today that I stood on yesterday, that I stood on in January of 2025. Donald Trump needs to be impeached, and the people who are in charge of doing that are the folks that we elected, and that if we are going to be responsible, I am going to, again, speak to Pete Aguilar's answering service because I can't get him on the phone. I'm going to speak to his field rep because occasionally I'm able to sneak up on him at a community activity and say, when are we going to get started with the daily impeachment of Trump? Because you're going to tell me we're not ready yet. We can't do it yet. So,
okay, we have to win an election first. We have to win this election this year, the midterm election, before we can even think about impeaching him. I'm pretty sure we're going to at least win the House. We may win the Senate. And that's why I encourage everybody to get out there and vote, because there's no time for apathy right now. What you're talking about, Mr. Allen, is yes, it can be done, but we have to get out there and vote this year. We have to get out there and defeat these people. Period.
And in the meantime, we need to begin not just the conversations that we have every week. Until there's time to vote, we need to begin the process of the preparation and the encouragement and the conversations so that people do not become weary in their good doing. Because there are still a lot of months between here and November. There are some primaries. There's a lot of politics. And what they would love to do is have everyone just feel so powerless, so frustrated, so tired that they just put their attention somewhere else. So it's the beginning of the year. What I would love to do is say that we can have individual community conversations. How can all of us, the three of us, and then the people we talk to, the people that are listening to us, how can we begin to have very constructive conversations that remind people every day of how much control we have, how much power and authority we actually have as individuals, not just to vote, but begin to encourage other people and let them know they're not alone. The thing about the elected officials is they listen to whoever's making the most noise, who makes them think that if they don't do what they say, they're going to be in trouble. Every day that we're calling, they also have people sitting in their office, they have PAC groups, they have donors who are looking at them and going, listen, yeah, they may show up, they may not show up. You know what I'm going to do or not do if you don't do what I say. And the only other thing that reminds them that the people are the ones in power is they look at numbers. They do get the phone calls, but they also do count the social media likes. They do. And so the way that every one of these representatives got online yesterday and issued their statements and issued their comments, the mayor of Miami, even the representative that you're talking about, everyone has to push the button they have. Your button is the telephone button. There are thousands of people who have a phone in their hand, and if we give them the language, they can go ahead and they can hit him where he's watching numbers, where his committees are coming and showing him the analytics and the algorithm that can say to him, okay, these 5,000 comments that you have on here, 75% of them actually came from voters here in your district. You better do something. And so we have to hit where they're measuring the numbers. We can have our conversation. I would love for the people who are listening to also be able to know not just his phone number, not just his website, but this is his Instagram, this is his X, this is his Facebook, and make yourself clear, because that also can encourage them. When we go and we see how many other people have showed up to go hell no, then we feel better about saying hell no.
Oh, yeah. We see people who immediately went out to protest, and I agree with everything you've both said. I'm wondering if both of you realize that what you're saying also depends on a man of audacity losing some of his audacity. What you're saying, Myshjua, and I agree with you, and I think we have to inspire and push our activism on a daily basis. But when you take away people's access to jobs, when you take away their access to their health care, when you take away the access to the normal flow of things, you put them in a stress mode that makes it very hard to get involved in this other level of politics. This is why he is so consistent with his throwing out new elements to confuse, to create chaos, to stress us in another direction other than staying on point being, is he qualified? Is he doing what we need him to do as president? What should we and could we do to get rid of his position of power? And I think as we say, get ready for the election, one of the things we need to remember is that we're talking about the number one election denier, the man who consistently says elections aren't necessary and who does everything he can to prevent us from thinking that an election is important. I question whether he wants us to have an election, and I'll say it like that, in hopes that you'll look at the evidence that points out that he doesn't. Why doesn't he want an election? Because the change of regime here in the United States would put people in power that would put him in jail. He has broken so many laws.
Yeah.
And I think since we all agree that that's part of his deal, we should understand that getting to an election with him in power, he's demonstrated that he would put troops on the street. And he did that with the idea and hope, I believe, that there would be enough reaction to him in a violent way that he would be able to continue to put troops on the street to say that there's no need for anybody else to try to handle this. I've got it. And guess what? we're going to call martial law so that we can keep these people under control.
But he failed at that.
That didn't work. So if we
failed.
go back a couple of months, one of the things I said, well, his next move is going to be to create a war so that America does what it usually does. It stands behind the president and whatever our war effort is, despite the legality of it or illegality of it. We go back to Vietnam.
You know what happened? They won. They kidnapped that president from Venezuela. There's not going to be that.
No, there isn't. Not from that standpoint.
The people, and number one, American people were against going to war in Venezuela. But the way they did it, he robbed himself of all that fanfare of winning a war and all that stuff. No, it's done.
No, the maintenance of the car, the maintenance of control of Venezuela is going to be the flashpoint, or he will attempt to go into Colombia, or he will attempt to go into Nigeria, places that he has already...
Yeah, but this is the thing. There are already people in those places that are not going to just let him in.
That's my point.
What's important for all of us, though, is to remember that, yes, he's the number one election denier. Yes, he came in last year and immediately started laying off people and firing people he didn't have the right to fire. We need to know that as of this past Friday, even the Supreme Court has delayed yet another decision. Every one of these organizations, every one of these cabinets, we have the woman from the Library of Congress. We have lawsuits against Christine Noem. We have federal workers who are fighting back. We're just not seeing it in the news. And a lot of them are winning these lawsuits so far. And so I think it's important for us, and I get what you're saying. When we've disrupted people's livelihood, when we put them in survival mode, it's hard for them to focus on the politics. So this is where community comes in. This is where independent media comes in and comes on and says, hey, by the way, do you know that people are fighting back and he's actually losing, which is why he keeps doing all this crazy stuff, because he keeps wanting to throw you off? This is where a community can come in and say, you know what? They've taken away your health care, but I do have this multi-million-dollar medical practice and I'm on your side. Let me figure out ways to take care of people. This is where a community, just like how Mac is growing food, this is where we can go ahead and begin to feed one another as best we can, so that we can take that edge off as best we can, so that we can all fight together. Like Bob Marley.
I have to disagree with you, Myshjua. I understand what you're saying. But this is the thing. America we're supposed to be governed by the people. We are the power that is the government.
And that's what she's saying.
What's really out of line right now is that Donald Trump and his crew think that they are the power instead of the American people. And we have to remedy that problem. And as much as we can feed ourselves or organize ourselves, we have to deal with the real problem. And that's the real problem. These people think that they are above the law, that they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and nobody's going to hold them to account. But the only people who can hold them to account is us.
That's what she's saying. And
that's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, in the meantime, though, every day, if you see someone that you also know should be a registered voter and we should all fight back together, and you see them hungry and you see their kids hungry and you have the ability to feed them so that they can get the energy to get to the polls, we need to do that. That's all I'm saying is we do have a meantime situation.
Well,
we've got.
I understand. Okay.
May I?
My bad. I understand. I agree with you, Myshjua.
No. All of these angles are really important because they demonstrate the chaos and confusion that stirring this pot creates. Because we're right and we're wrong at the same time. We're right if the pot is going to consistently stay where it is, but we know that it keeps changing. The thing that gives this man the audacity is the title Commander-in-Chief. When he found initially that he was not Commander-in-Chief because he had military people who would not do the insane things that he requests. If we go back and say that this move in Venezuela is illegal based on our Constitution and our process and procedure, now what we're saying is President Trump has a military base of generals who will do what he says, legal or illegal.
He has
And
he has about 30% of the country
Well,
who will do what he said.
Well, that 30% of the country, he doesn't really care about now. That base, he's already gone against that base and told them, basically, y'all can kiss my elbows. I have now got the real control access that I need, and that's the military. I will use them in your state. I've demonstrated I'll do it before, and I know now the best way to do it is to be able to have an insurrection in your state. I didn't get that done right last time, but I will next time. Next time, I will hire these agent provocateurs that will come in. My guys that I told to stand down before, I will be able to use them to create the violence that's necessary for me to bring my military in. And I've got generals now who will do what I say to do. The generals who wouldn't do what he said to do, you praised him 2 weeks ago, Mac. Our Navy general, our Navy admiral, who retired rather than go into the Caribbean and do what ultimately we see done with Venezuela. So he's got the military. With the military and violence in the street, we are an hour away from an hour
We haven't had
away.
violence in the street. We have the military in the street.
Let me back you up. Let me
withdrew.
back you up. Let me reiterate what I said because I must have said it too quickly. He will create violence in the street. He didn't do it successfully when he brought them in to California and tried to piss off Californians enough to get people to shoot. He went into Chicago. He went into Chicago where there are enough guns to supply almost any army but America's. And he could not create the violence there this time. And he's got judgments against him. Remember what happened with Trump's idol, Mr. Jackson, when the Cherokee Indians,
Andrew Jackson.
When the Cherokee Indians won their case at the Supreme Court that says they could have kept their land, Jackson said, "I'll tell you what, Supreme Court don't have no army," and he immediately put the Cherokees on the Trail of Tears.
Well, this is why.
Ultimate,
I mean, like you're saying that he may.
I'm saying that he will.
A false flag situation, but my question is, why hasn't he done that already?
He has attempted to, but it hasn't worked. But he's still in the position to make it better. And this move in Venezuela that everybody can say is illegal, nobody can say it was legal. We've got some people on his intelligence committee who will, love the limelight and say, well, he talked to me. But he did not go through the procedure of speaking to Congress. And what he did is an act of war. You cannot go into another sovereign nation, kidnap their president, and say you did it under a police action. That is an act of war,
are we looking
as the United Nations has said.
So I have a question.
Well, did I answer your concern there about he has not created violence, and should we worry that he is able to create violence and use his army to create martial law and take over and prevent that election in 2026? That's my concern.
I don't think worry is the word. I like the word concern, but first of all, worry doesn't get us anywhere. I will say this.
We can parse those words, but we understand what I mean.
But words are important. Words are important, not just for the three of us, but again, for listeners, because when Andrew Jackson did that, we didn't have an internet. We didn't even have telephones.
Absolutely.
We didn't even have an independent press. So the people had no way of knowing what was really happening until years after the fact.
Yes.
I remember being in a movie theater at the Beverly Center when Geronimo came out. And I remember being surrounded by all of these white people in the theater. And I remember how quiet they got as the movie proceeded to play out. And they watched lie after lie and broken promise after broken promise by the American government. And I remember how quietly all of them left the theater. Now, I was aware because I like to read history and I studied history. So I knew about these things. But there were so many white people who had no idea that this had really happened, that this was the way they played out, that we really stole these people's land. And so that has been a part of the movement that has caused people to stop celebrating Columbus Day, to start speaking about Indigenous Peoples Day. So what I'm saying is that if we just lean into the idea that the majority of the people in this country want to feel good about themselves and who they are and how they get what they get, if you make them aware and they do have a choice, you give them the opportunity to make a better choice. So what I'm saying is, if we bombard the same way that he bombards everyone with the information about who he is not, and what he's going to do, we have the ability, even if it's just with one voice, even if it's just with 500 people listening, he can continue to attempt things. But what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to sit as defense, or are we going to try to come up with an offense? Can we give people a strategy rather than just a worry?
I think we all agree that that's necessary regardless of everything that takes place. And alerting people and being the messenger, we've all taken that responsibility, and we deal with it every day. What we also have to realize is that not only has he controlled the military, he's propped up all of the media bases with billionaires that will go in the direction he's going in.
Can I say something? As a veteran, as somebody who actually went to war for this country, this is normal business. America is not a good guy on the global stage.
Right.
Donald Trump likes to pretend like we used to be the world's policeman. That's never been the case. America does what we're doing in Venezuela right now. We do that regularly. That's what we do in the military. And I think a lot of people have a false image of what America is. America is not the Lone Ranger on the global scale. America is a robber. We steal shit. We take people's
you agree
resources.
So what you're saying there agrees with the fact that our military, with the generals doing what he wants, is capable of coming in and going into the martial law position on his command.
Yeah. Who's the president, though? That's who make the president. That's where the buck stops.
Well,
we can blame the military or whatever.
No, I'm not blaming.
We did just see the Black Admiral. He resigned instead of commit these war crimes that we're witnessing today.
I don't think I'm
But
blaming
at the end of the day, it's the president.
I'm not blaming the military.
Says what goes.
That's why I'm saying we need to impeach him, because he will say martial law. And now we are in a position where there's a military who will say, yes, sir, without a doubt. And that's the concern. Now, whether we worry about it, and I agree with Myshjua, worry isn't going to take us anywhere. We need to talk to our people every day, but we need to talk to them with a goal in mind. And the goal in mind, as far as I'm concerned, is to take the person who is in charge, who has led us down this primrose lane to war, to misunderstanding about who we are, and accepting the concept that who we are is who he says we are. Meanwhile, we're talking about taking care and taking over another country while our country is in shambles economically, in shambles education-wise, in shambles in terms of us as a people getting along. And if we are going to
that's the conversation.
Well, the conversation, and I'm leading to that. Who do we need to have the conversation with? Each other? I tried to get someone on with us this morning who I know is 180 degrees away from us, but he didn't quite want to show up. We've got to be able to convince.
We're not running our country correctly. How are we going to take over Venezuela?
That question has no answer. The answer that we're looking for has to go back to what we said before about convincing our neighbors to stand up and stop the president from continuing to direct us in this misdirected way. And that means we need to be talking to Republicans. We need to be talking to...
I think that before we even start to talk to Republicans, I think we need to talk to one another, because there is not a unified even on the Democratic side.
Well,
There are so many different that's been part of the problem.
well, as we
There
look at the
hasn't been this
votes, if we
unified.
look at the votes in Congress, we can see that the Democrats have been consistent, both in the Senate and in the legislature. And if we were talking today about an impeachment, that I do believe we would get 90% of the Democrats, and that leaves us needing about 25 or 30 of the Republicans in terms of the House of Representatives. And as far as the Senate is concerned, we probably need to convince maybe 5 or 6 of senators to actually
So
go
you're
through.
saying that we need to start to speak to Republican citizens, Republican voters,
Yes.
so that Republican voters
Yes.
can then start to speak to the people they've
Oh,
elected.
yes. Marjorie
Okay,
Taylor
so it's
Greene,
still
for
a-
instance.
okay.
Let's look at how we
Can
dealt.
I ask a question? Have either
can I
one
make-
of you participated in the million or the No Kings marches this year?
Yes.
Because if you go to those marches, and since you said yes, Mr. Allen, you know that the energy is there. There are people who are activated.
And that,
There are people who are.
Right,
This year
right.
is going to be one hell of an election.
So I feel
These
very
Republicans
comfortable.
are going to lose hands down.
I feel very comfortable saying that we should talk to Republican people about making the statement and making the issue to their representatives, and that is our direction for change. But we need to
So
be able to
encourage
make-
them to begin to make a case for impeachment on their side to push for this even before an election takes place.
Absolutely.
In November.
And let me point out. Let me point out an attitude that we're operating with that extends this separation and argument between the people. Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she changed her mind, we still want to slap her in the face and talk about how she used to be. When the vice president was a no-Trumper and changed his mind, Trump absorbed him, accepted him, and made him his vice presidential candidate. We have to be able to not be Old Testament Christians, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but New Testament Christians who are able to forgive. If we want to have Republican people look at our side and do it with some enthusiasm, we're going to need to accept their past and, more importantly, accept them when they change their mind and stop ridiculing them. Can't make fun of them because they can't make fun of them because they made bad choices. If it's just like an alcoholic who changes his mind, we don't call them, oh, you're a drunkard. We talk to them in terms of their future.
And some
I'm
people,
saying that,
some people have been misinformed. The same way that Marjorie
and that's why we
Taylor
have the
Greene said,
opportunity
"Listen, I was lied
to
to.
inform them
I was
correctly.
misinformed." And maybe even the guest that you were trying to get to come on, maybe we needed to let him know, listen, we're not here for an argument. We're actually here for a conversation.
Oh,
And
I'm
I
not
think
throwing.
that
I'm not
has
throwing
to
him
be-
away. I just pointed that out as an example
And
to
I
let
think
you know that I am
yeah.
trying to speak to
Yeah,
Republicans,
because
and it's
I
not
think
going to
that
be,
first-
and it's not going to be easy because we have set up a situation where they expect an argument and a fight, and to do. And
Well, listen, man. Okay, I hear you. I disagree with a lot because you guys are trying to reach out to Republicans, and there's a very good portion of the Republican Party that doesn't want to be reached out to.
I like
they
who
don't
like
want
me.
you to touch them. They don't want to change their mind.
And you'll know those people when you talk to them,
Yeah.
and you'll get to
And-
move
and
on
yeah,
to the next.
and this is
Because
just
once
one
again,
thing to do.
we don't need 100%. We just need a small percentage.
And this is just one avenue. Remember that if you're in the middle of a storm, there are different things that you have to do. When the storm is coming, you have to protect your windows. You have to put up your shutters. You also have to go and you have to go stock up on food. You have to, maybe, depending on where you are, if it's something that's prone to flooding, you may need to set yourself up to take care of that. We are all in this country. There are different communities. There are different communities that have different cultural understandings and norms. There are different ways to reach out to different people. There's not going to be just one way to get this done because there are too many different things that need to be done in the meantime. So I get what Dad is saying, and that's why I said, okay, let me try to figure out what you mean. I hear you. I also know that there are people right here in my community who are Republicans who would rather die than admit that this man needs to go.
Well, and there's an elephant in the room that we're not talking about. And I think it's like 2046, maybe 2054. America is going to become a majority country
Minority.
of colors.
Yeah,
People,
non-whites.
colored people. White people are going to become a minority in this country, and I think that we are foolish not to recognize their fears of that.
I think we recognize that. I think the movement back toward killing civil rights, the idea that we want to reduce immigration, and if we are going to have immigration, they want to favor immigration from Northern Europe. I understand that. I think most people do that. Racism, and I started off with that, racism is alive. And it's certainly going to have a bigger impact with the idea that America is going to be a non-white nation in terms of population. But look at Texas. Texas is already a non-white state.
So is Florida.
And so is Louisiana. But their representation is that of white men, who is definitely the minority. So,
well, because also though in Florida, for example, and this is why when people even talked about the Latino,
we got 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes. Let me give hour goes quick when you're having fun. Missy, take 30 seconds or more and conclude. And Mac, you do the same.
Let Mac go first because he's been wanting a moment. I'll defer to Mac.
No, I'm good. But what I'm going to say is that we need to get out here and vote this year. I think this is probably going to be the most. This year is going to be the most important voting year in American history.
I agree.
And everything we're talking about, impeaching Donald Trump and stopping this wave of lawlessness and terror, we can stop it at the voting booth. But you get a lot of people who encourage voter apathy.
We're not those folks.
My word is, we cannot allow that to happen. We have to get out there and vote. We have to do the other things that you guys are suggesting that we do.
That's your
but most
45
importantly,
seconds.
we have to get these people. You have to vote this year.
Well said,
but
Missy.
You have to feel like
Missy, your
to
turn.
Feel like it matters, and I think that's my thing. Is before we get to November, what we do today matters, and so today we need to begin to see one another. And if we're able to see one another and acknowledge that we are all going through something as a result of this administration, it may not be health care for you. It may be your rights as a woman. It may be it may be education, but we are all dissatisfied about something. And I think that the reason there's voter apathy is because we get to a position where we feel like no one is listening, no one cares what we think. And as a mom, one of the things I've learned is if I can come into the conversation saying, what is it that you need that you're not getting? And how can I help you get it? Then that's going to help us begin to get somewhere. So our conversations today, right here, right now, January 4th, matter.
Very
and
good.
If we start to see one another and hear one another.
If I can have my turn now, it appears that we should vote, we should educate ourselves on voting, and we should talk to each other. And I think that you're both right in that we have things in common that we should try to bring to as the subject matter for us to introduce a reason to talk together. And I think that coming together will possibly save us from martial law, allow us to see past the fake differences that are constantly be thrown between us and realize that we are on the same team. And that part, I think, is very critical. We have people whose Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners were upset because of political differences and not being able to set those things aside and remember that we are family and we are on the same team. Team, I love you. I appreciate the fact that you're here. I appreciate the fact that you are representing a strength and you are trying to bring that strength out in your neighbor. And I beg you to continue to do that. And I look forward to 2026, and I look so forward to being able to go to the polls and vote in November. So hopefully that'll happen. God bless you. Enjoy the new
Hey,
year.
one love.
Thank
I
you.
love it. I love it.
We're out of here.
Give it all you got.
God
Give it
bless
all
you.
you got and give God room to move.
That's right. 2026. Let's go.